Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Beauty of Boxing. We are here on the podcast, joined with my partner, Matthew Hunter.
Hello, everyone. Matthew Hunter with Mixed Combat Radio. We are joined today with Tayden Beltran, the Butcher, undefeated, born out Pomona, trains out of Huntington Beach. I remember Melody hit me up and said, "Hey, let's do this interview for this fighter." I'm like, "Sure, no problem, right?" And then I started looking into your story a little bit, and it is a really unique story, to be quite honest. Obviously the viral video with the old bully from high school and stuff. Coming up through special education. You have a child that's autistic, so it just, to me, it felt like it was a very resonating story, a very inspiring story. Um, you know, I know you started at 9 years old with your dad from bowling. Tell us about that. That growing up, being bullied, and going to boxing as sort of the solution to that.
Yeah, so I was getting in fights in school, and my father was kind of over me losing them, so he put me into a boxing gym, just to more so learn how to defend myself. And then, I was doing it from the age of 9 to, well, now, but from then I was I was boxing, 9, and then when I turned 13, he saw that I was really taking it seriously, and I was really committed to it. Like a lot of kids, I did a lot of sports, basketball, baseball, so on and so forth. But he noticed that boxing was the thing that I took the most liking to, and I spent a lot of my time doing. And so, at first it started more so as just to learn how to defend myself, but then it turned into me competing and ultimately my livelihood.
And that's what starts with a lot of the younger guys I see is, of course, bullying fuels a little bit of that anger that all fighters need, right? My son, he's autistic and he's only 13. Well, he's going to be 13. And he recently started going to online school because he didn't like the bullying and it was kind of hard for him. And being online is like a safer place. So it's kind of cool that obviously you found boxing where, he hates sports. He hates boxing. He hates that I even deal with this sport at all.
Unless it's Jake Paul or Logan Paul, then he's in completely, of course.
Yes. I couldn't believe I've been supporting Jake Paul for a lot of years before my son. He's been in love with them forever, but that's just their little, generation that they grew up in. So you debuted at how old were you when you debuted?
I debuted at 20 years old. I think turning 20, turning 21. I debuted during the pandemic, and so I had to go to Mexico in order to fight, which ultimately wasn't something I wanted to do, but I'm glad, I got it out the way and was able to debut and really a tough time for everybody.
Yeah.
As someone that came up as an amateur pre-pandemic and then a pro post-pandemic, do you see the sport and the industry overall changing from that? Or we talked about how it was so hard for promotions to come back. Some promotions didn't come back. I know certain fighters that didn't come back after the pandemic because they couldn't get fights, so they had to go get sort of the day job and the regular career and stuff like that. Do you see the pandemic really still having that effect on the industry?
I can't really answer that for certain because, I would assume so. I didn't have a great amateur pedigree, so I believe that is why that for a lot of these years I've kind of had fights here and there 2-3 times a year. But I'm starting to see that a lot more promotions, especially now, are starting to have a lot of fights. You have Elite Boxing, or Elite Promotions, they're having a lot of fights. Fight City Promotions, Marv Nation, CBN, they're having a lot of fights too. So I think we're finally seeing more so the end of that kind of rough patch where there weren't that many fights happening. So I think we're kind of seeing the end of that, and we're gonna start having more fights. And the last time I fought was June 23rd. Before that was December 1st, and so I was having a very dry patch of boxing. But now, I fought this, June 23rd, and then I just fought 2 weeks ago, and then we're working on a date right now as well.
So I know you don't know my past, but I worked for both Elite Boxing, Marv Nation, and
Oh yeah.
and I started with Red Boxing a long time ago. But what we had really good success before the pandemic, and
Mhm.
then it splintered into multiple fractioned smaller promotions that I'm still really good friends with. Like I'll be at Marv Nation's fight on Saturday. My old boss with Elite Boxing and I'm sure Red Boxing, they'll be there too. But everybody's and Thompson previous, right?
Mhm.
Like I've worked with all the promoters. I used to do paperwork and PR and stuff like that. So I've been around a lot of promotions and seen them, and you have been working with CBN, which is a newer promotion, but
Mhm.
they've taken on the new blood, the old Thompson roster basically, and so it's been kind of a breeze because these other promotions I know personally are promoters that this is their game, right? This is where their money's at. And Thompson has a whole 22 years of validation in the fight, and to me especially because I love Thompson boxing, but all of this is that's where I learned everything, these smaller promotions, and now I see them all. There's so much more going on,
Yeah.
but at least CBN, I see they have the the what is it called, like the ends already, where these other promotions are just starting up,
Mhm.
they're they have a little bit what is it, like on edge, like
More cachet.
just in the game a little bit. So
Mhm.
I know your last fight was there, right? And what
Yeah.
about in December?
December was Fight Club OC.
Okay, so Roy, right? So
Yes.
another great promoter in the game.
Mhm.
So there is so much more. You're right. There is so much more that, because I mean before there was like four. I think before when I was with Red Boxing, Golden Boy was like our competition,
Yeah.
And then we have now all of these smaller promotions. It gives more opportunity, more inclusion
Mhm.
to fighters, especially here in LA. You're
Definitely.
from Pomona?
Well, I was born in Pomona. I grew up in Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach. So real close to us. We're in Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
So pretty close to us,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, how much longer do you want to stay at this level? In terms of the local scene, bouncing around from, Bash Boxing, CBN, Roy, Elite, at 7-0 now, are you sort of thinking at, where's my step up? I'm thinking about, what's Omar Trinidad and fighting
Mhm.
Don Ochoa. That was a big local fight, step
Mhm.
up for an undefeated fighter. Are you sort of looking for that step up to then go to maybe a bigger scene or a bigger promotion?
Definitely the plan right now is, we're gonna just keep fighting. We're gonna keep learning, and at 10-0, we're gonna have that big step up fight. And then my goal is to just get out of the local scene, or stay in the local scene. Regardless, I just want to have good fights and have step up fights as well. If the promotion as far as lands me something local, then I'm gonna stay within that as long as I could have these step up fights and have these fights that really test my ability in the ring
You know,
and
you
allow me to
talk,
prove myself.
you talked a little bit about not having I forget the exact word you used. I don't want to mischaracterize what you said, but not a great amateur career.
Mm,
I know you had, I think it was about 55 amateur fights.
mm,
So you had a pretty decent size amateur career.
definitely.
Do you think that still helped you transition to pros? Would you still recommend younger fighters, hey, have a few dozen fights in the amateurs before you turn pro?
Definitely, I would definitely suggest fighting and getting your good amount of amateur fights, but also going to national tournaments in the sense that there's that pressure there. You're traveling sometimes out of state. You have to advance in order to stay in the tournament. So there's that kind of underlying pressure that kind of falls on you. It does fall on you. And so I think it's good to familiarize yourself with that kind of pressure. As far as styles go, they're obviously very different, amateur style versus a pro style. So definitely, if anything, I would suggest once you get to that age, fighting in national tournaments, fighting a lot as an amateur, but also getting that pro sparring in to ease that transition when you become a pro.
So, you don't have a fight lined up next, right?
No, not yet. Just kind of staying ready. We have some ideas, but I don't want to say any dates just yet. But we do have some dates that were thrown out to us.
And you fight at 100. What's your 135 pounds? 140?
135.
135, and that weight's comfortable for you.
Super comfortable. I can make the weight easy. I don't drop a lot to get there, and of course, I have to stay really disciplined. I can't be eating too much and eating all the things that I want to eat. I have to stay disciplined to make it comfortable. But I mean, this game is all about sacrifices. So
I mean, that division's one of the better divisions in the sport. I mean, that when you look at the top 15 or so in that division, do you see yourself slotting in there, relatively, soon, whenever that date is, right? Whenever you start making those step ups, do you see yourself slotting in with that top 15 and competing?
110%. I really believe I'm something special and I'm something different. And I'm going to see myself up there in the top 15 for sure.
What gym do you train out of?
I train out of Elite Pro Boxing in Santa Fe Springs.
Okay, I know that gym too. I worked with Steve, right?
Yes, Steve Rodarte.
Rodarte, yeah. He was like the first guy that I worked with in boxing when I first started Red Boxing a long time ago. Yeah.
Boxing is a small world.
Oh my gosh. Here in LA, people don't understand. Like once you know somebody, once you get in the game here, everybody knows everybody. It's a small little world, especially boxing.
Yeah. Do you go to work or go to school as well? I mean, I know a lot of fighters when they're young, they're either going to school or they have, the day job to sort of support the boxing career or a family. What's that sort of day-to-day life, so to speak?
So right now I'm working as just like a boxing instructor. So I'll teach boxing classes here and there. And then that's my job, but my career is boxing, as I like to say. I'm building my career. Right now, I just work as a boxing instructor just to keep it comfortable where I'm living at right now, and then also gives me a lot of time to dedicate my time to training.
What inspires
you to anything. I'm sorry, what was that?
What inspires you to fight?
I think I just love fighting. It's just something that's extremely fun to me, I love fighting. But also, it's just it's a way. It just to me, it makes the most sense to me. It's what I've been doing the most my whole life, and I can't see myself doing anything different. I love the fact that boxers are a different breed of people, and I'm a different breed of. I fall in that breed of different people, and so that kind of inspires me on staying on that path and just doing something great.
If you could fix one thing about the sport, whether it's the industry in terms of the business side or in terms of how it's structured, whatever it is, if you could fix one thing about boxing, what would it be?
That's a tough question. Put me on the spot a little bit. I think some of the politics that go into it. I think there are a lot of guys out there that didn't have a great amateur background. They weren't winning tournaments back to back. They weren't going to the Olympics and stuff, but or big giant national tournaments and winning them. But there's still a lot of great fighters out there that nobody really hears about but they're extremely good. So I think giving people like us more opportunities to be in the spotlight would be great.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really do try to think about the most. And I think the reason why I stay doing boxing stuff is because I'm now retired from working with these promotions for now. For now. I'm done with paperwork side, but I love boxing so much. And like, I know there's so many good fighters that get promoted wrong or get managed wrong, or they don't have the right team behind them, and they're saying some crazy stuff, that they shouldn't be. And they get, there's so many things that could go wrong. And there's so many fighters that are good out there, especially in this area, the Los Angeles area, the whole Southern California, Mexico. There's so many fighters. I'm glad one thing, with the local promotions is that there's more opportunities for you guys. And I love giving new fighters I don't know opportunities to, have you guys on the show, hear what you're about. And then I get excited because I'll be fans for like, the next 10 years. And then I just won't stop raving about how I did an interview with him, the butcher. And, people are going to be like, oh, he's famous. I'm like, I know. I knew he was, So he knew he was special. So did I. So did his
So did we.
So, not really. It wasn't even me. I have to thank your manager for putting us, in touch, but getting us an interview, because I just wanted to obviously give an opportunity so we could kind of get the world to know who Tayden the Butcher Beltran is. And, I there's so many of you guys, so many. We can have everybody once a day if I lined up interviews, But the fact that you're unique, we see your talents, we've seen your last couple of fights, and I'm looking forward to your next announcement when
Thank you.
you're gonna, so we'll see your career journey.
Any social media shout outs, sponsors, anything like that before we wrap up the interview?
I'd like to thank my sponsors, Players Club Tattoo, Parlor, Excel Med Spa, Primal Elements, and Blue Light Media. They really helped me out throughout camp, and then just their support in general. My Instagram, you guys can find me at The Butcher Beltran. And then that's the only social media I'm really on. I got to get better at that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's awesome that you guys are giving me, myself, and the other fighters the opportunity to come on here and tell their story.
Absolutely, Tayden. Always appreciate it. And like Melody said, can't wait to see the next announcement for your fight.
It'll be coming soon. I appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.